I'm going to be reading more of the Decameron. My last video got cut off a little bit, but I was basically just commenting on how this book is a commentary on the hypocrisy of the church at the time. Um, so Chapoletto was saying, "Oh, I was the worst person. I didn't engage in, sexual intercourse, but I wanted to, and I fasted, and when I drank water, I really enjoyed it." So, um, Boccaccio is just showing hypocrisy in the church at that time through this humorous manner. "Alack, father mine," rejoined Chapoletto, "tell me not this to comfort me. You must know I know that things done for the service of God should be done sincerely and with an ungrudging mind, and whoso doth otherwise sinneth." Quoth the friar, exceedingly well pleased, "I am content that thou shouldst thus apprehend it, and thy pure and good conscience therein pleaseth me exceedingly. But tell me, hast thou sinned by way of avarice, desiring more than befitted, or withholding that which it behoved those thee not to withhold?" "Father mine," replied Chapoletto, "I would not have you look to my being in the house of these usurers. I have naught to do here, nay, I came hither to admonish and chasten them, and turn them from this their abominable way of gain, and methinketh I should have made shift to do so, had not God thus visited me. But you must know that I was left a rich man by my father, and of whose good, when he was dead, I was bestowed the most part in alms, and after to sustain my life, and that I might be able to succor Christ's poor, I have done my little traffickings, and in these I have desired to gain, but still with God's poor have I shared that which I gained, converting my own half to the occasion and giving them the other. And this so well hath my Creator prospered me that my affairs have still gone from good to better." "Well hast thou done," said the friar, "but hast thou often been angered?" "Oh," cried Master Chapoletto, "that I must tell you I have very often been, and who could keep himself therefrom, seeing men do unseemly things all day long, keeping not the commandments of God, neither fearing his judgment. Many times a day I had liefer been dead than alive, seeing young men follow after vanities, and hearing them curse and forswear themselves, haunting the taverns, visiting not the churches, and ensuing rather the ways of the world than that of God." "My son," said the friar, "this is a righteous anger, nor for my part might I enjoin thee any penance therefore. But hath anger at any time availed to move thee to do any manslaughter, or to bespeak any one unseemly, or do any other unright?" "Alack, sir," answered the sick man, you who seem to me a man of God, how can you say such words? Have I ever had the least thought of doing any one of the things whereof you speak? Think you I believe that God would so long have forborne me? These be the doings of outlaws and men of naught, whereof I never saw any, but I said still, Go, may God amend thee. Then said the friar, Now tell me, my son, blessed be thou of God, hast thou never borne false witness against any, or missaid of another, or taken other's good, without leave of him to whom it pertained? Let's see. Not sure I understood that. Now tell me, my son, hast thou never borne false witness, lied about, um, or stolen from someone? Let's see. Have you bore false witness? Have you lied, or have you stolen from people, taken others' good? "Aye, indeed, sir," replied Master Chapoletto, "I have missaid of others, for that I had a neighbor aforetime who, with the greatest unright in the world, did not but beat his wife, insomuch that I once spoke ill of him to her kinsfolk. So great was the compassion that overcame me for the poor woman, whom he used as God alone can tell, whensoever he had drunken overmuch." Quoth the friar, "Thou tellest me thou hast been a merchant. Hast thou never cheated anyone, as merchants do whiles?" "Aye, faith, yes, sir," answered Master Chapoletto, "but I know not whom, except it were a certain man, who once brought me moneys which he owed me for cloth I had sold him, and which I threw into a chest without counting. A good month after, I found that they were 4 farthings more than they should have been, wherefore, not seeing him again, and having kept them by me a full year, that I might restore them to him, I gave them away in alms." Quoth the friar, "This was a small matter, and thou didst well to deal with it as thou didst." Then he questioned him of many other things, of all which he answered after the same fashion, and the Holy Father offered to proceed to absolution, Master Chapelletto said, "Sir, I have yet sundry sins that I have not told you." The friar asked him what they were, and he answered, "I mind me that one Saturday, after none, maybe noon is what they mean, I caused my servants sweep out the house, and had not that reverence for the Lord's holy day which it behoved me to have." "Oh," said the friar, "that is a light matter, my son." "Nay," rejoined Master Chapelletto, "call it not a light matter, for that the Lord's day is greatly to be honored, seeing that on such a day our Lord rose from the dead." Then said the friar, "Well, hast thou done aught else?" "Ay, sir," answered Master Chapelletto, "once, unthinking what I did, I spat in the church of God." Thereupon the friar fell a smiling, and said, "My son, that is no thing to be recked of. We who are of the clergy, we spit there all day long." "And you do very ill," rejoined Master Chapelletto, "for that there is naught which it so straitly behoveth to keep clean as the holy temple wherein is rendered sacrifice to God." Brief he told him great plenty of such like things, and presently fell a sighing, and after weeping sore, as he knew full well to do, when as he would. Quoth the holy friar, "What aileth thee, my son?" "Alas, sir," replied Master Chapelletto, "I have one sin left, whereof I never yet confessed me. Such shame have I to tell it, and every time I call it to mind I weep, even as you see, and meseemeth very certain that God will never pardon it me." "Go to, son," rejoined the friar. "What is this thou sayest? If all the sins that were ever wrought, or are yet to be wrought, of all mankind, what while the world endureth, were all in one man, and he repented him thereof, and were contrite therefore, as I see, such is the mercy and loving kindness of God, that, upon confession, he would freely pardon them to him. Wherefore do thou tell it in all assurance." Quoth Master Chapelletto, still weeping sore, "Alack, father mine is too great a sin, and I can scarce believe that it will ever be forgiven me of God. Accept your prayers, strive for me." Then said the friar, Tell it me in all assurance, for I promise thee to pray God for thee." Master Chapelletto, however, still wept and said naught, but after he had thus held the friar a great while in suspense, he heaved a deep sigh and said, "Father mine, since you promised me to pray God for me, I will even tell it to you. Know then that, when I was little, I once cursed my mother." So saying, he fell again to weeping sore. "O my son," quoth the friar, "seemeth this to thee so heinous a sin? Why, men blaspheme God all day long, and he freely pardoneth whoso repenteth him of having blasphemed him. And deemest thou who set him on the cross, he would pardon thee in favor of such contrition as I see in thee? No, wait. He will pardon thee this? Let's see. Why, men blaspheme God all day long, and he freely pardoneth whoso repenteth him of having blasphemed him. And deemest thou not he will pardon thee this? Weep not, but comfort thyself. For, certes, wert thou one of those who set him on the cross, he would pardon thee in favor of such contrition as I see in thee." "Alack, father mine, what say you?" replied Chapelletto. "My kind mother, who bore me 9 months in her body, day and night, and carried me on her neck 100 times and more, I did passing ill to curse her, and it was an exceeding great sin. And except you pray God for me, it will not be forgiven me." The friar then, seeing that Master Chapelletto had no more to say, gave him absolution and bestowed on him his benison, holding him a very holy man and devoutly believing all that he had told him to be true. And who would not have believed it, hearing a man at the point of death speak thus? Then after all this he said to him, "Master Chapelletto, with God's help you will speedily be whole. But should it come to pass that God call your blessed and well-disposed soul to himself, would it please you that your body be buried in our convent?" "Ay, would it, sir," replied Master Chapelletto. "Nay, I would fain no be buried otherwhere, since you have promised to pray God for me, more by token that I have ever had a special regard for your order. Wherefore I pray you that when as you return to your lodging, you must bring me that most veritable body of Christ, which you consecrate in mornings upon the altar, for that with your leave I purpose, all unworthy as I am, to take it, and after holy and extreme unction, to the intent that, if I have lived as a sinner, I may at least die like a Christian." The good friar replied that it pleased him much, and that he said well, and promised to see it presently brought him. And so it was done. Meanwhile, the two brothers, misdoubting them, sore lest Master Chapelletto should play them false, had posted themselves behind a wainscot that divided the chamber where he lay from another, and listening, easily heard and apprehended that which he said to the friar, and had while so great a mind to laugh, hearing the things which he confessed to have done, that they were like to burst, and said one to other, What manner of man is this, whom neither old age nor sickness nor fear of death, whereunto he seeth himself near, nor yet of God, before whose judgment seat he looketh to be ere long, have availed to turn from his wickedness, nor hinder him from choosing to die as he hath lived. However, seeing that he had so spoken that he should be admitted to burial in a church, they recked not of the rest. Master Chapelletto presently took the sacrament, and, growing rapidly worse, received extreme unction, and a little after evensong of the day he had made his fine confession, he died, whereupon the two brothers, having of his proper moneys taken order for his honorable burial, sent to the convent to acquaint the friars therewith, bidding them come thither that night to hold vigil, according to usance, and fetch away the body in the morning, and meanwhile made ready all that was needful thereunto. The holy friar who had shriven him, hearing that he had departed this life, betook himself to the prior of the convent, and, letting ring to chapter, gave out to the brethren therein assembled that Master Chapelletto had been a holy man, according to that which he had gathered from his confession, and persuaded them to receive his body with the utmost reverence and devotion, in the hope that God should show forth many miracles through him. To this the prior and brethren curiously consented, and that same evening, coming all whereas Master Chapelletto lay dead, they held high and solemn vigil over him, and on the morrow, clad all in albs and copes, book in hand and crosses before them, they went, chanting the while for his body, and brought it with the utmost pomp and solemnity to their church, followed by well nigh all the people of the city, men and women. As soon as they had set the body down in the church, the holy friar who had confessed him mounted the pulpit and fell a preaching marvelous things of the dead man and of his life, his fast, his virginity, his simplicity, and innocence and sanctity, recounting, amongst other things, that which he had confessed to him as his greatest sin, and how he had hardly availed to persuade him that God would forgive it him. Thence passing on to reprove the folk who hearkened. And you, accursed that you are, quoth he, for every waif of straw that stirreth between your feet, you blaspheme God and the Virgin and all the host of heaven. Moreover, he told them many other things of his loyalty and purity of heart. Brief, with his speech, whereto entire faith was yielded of the people of the city, he so established the dead man in the reverent consideration of all who were present that, no sooner was the service at an end, than they all with utmost eagerness flocked to kiss his hands and feet, and the clothes were torn off his back, he holding himself blessed who might avail to have never so little thereof, and needs must they leave him thus all that day, so he might be seen and visited of all. The following night he was honorably buried in a marble tomb in one of the chapels of the church, and on the morrow the folk began incontinent to come and burn candles, and offer up prayers, and make vows to him, and hang images of wax at his shrine, according to the promise made. Nay, on such wise waxed the frame of his sanctity and men's devotion to him, that there were scarce any who, being in adversity, who would vow himself to another saint than him, and they styled and yet style him Saint Chapelletto, and avouch that God through him hath wrought many miracles, and yet worketh them every day for whoso devoutly commendeth himself unto him. Thus then lived and died Master Ceperello da Prato, and became a saint, as you have heard. Nor would I deny it to be possible that he is beatified in God's presence, for that, albeit his life was wicked and perverse, he may at his last extremity have shown such contrition that peradventure God had mercy on him and received him into his kingdom. But for that this is hidden from us, I reason according to that which is apparent, and say that he should rather be in the hands of the devil in perdition than in paradise. And if so it be, we may know from this how great is God's loving kindness towards us, which, having regard not to our error, but to the purity of our faith, whenas we thus make an enemy, deeming him a friend, of his our intermediary, giveth ear unto us, even as if we had recourse unto one truly holy as intercessor for his favor. Wherefore, to the end that by his grace we may be preserved safe and sound in this present adversity and in this so joyous company, let us, magnifying his name, in which we have begun our diversion, and holding him in reverence, commend ourselves to him and our necessities, well assured of being heard. And with this, he was silent. Okay, so they mean Pamphilo. So Pamphilo was the one who was telling the story, so with this, he fell silent. And that is the end of day the first.